Taste of Dragons Gaming Podcast. We eat sandwiches and play games. Taste of Dragons Gaming Podcast. A podcast for everyone's taste.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taste of Dragons, the Toddcast, the video game podcast that all you spirits listen to. This week, Morticians help ghosts go into the sky. The news is mixing it up. Our topic doesn't know sandwich is which. And our dragon this week is throwing haymakers. Sucker Punch co-founder, Chris Zimmerman. And as always, my name is Brian.
My name is Troy.
Amanda.
And I'm Joe.
Hey, so welcome to week 2 of Separate Cast.
Yep. Chapter 2, week 2.
That's right. As you may have heard or may have noticed that Lewis will not be here this week. He is just got back from his trip and is self-quarantining himself, being safe and all that jazz. So
He was in an airport.
Yeah.
Hey,
Airport.
You got to travel. If you got to travel,
Yep.
you got to quarantine.
That's right. So he probably won't be on next week either, but a week after that, as long as he's healthy, he'll be on. And
Right
as long
on.
as we're healthy, he'll also be on.
That's great.
Maybe we'll get him on a video or something so you guys can still see him or hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad because, he really wanted to talk about Ghosts of Seshuma. And so, but we'll relay some of his thoughts this week, though. So we'll get into it a little bit.
Cool.
But yeah, speaking of which, let's get into the games.
What
are you playing?
I got to say that my do-do-do-dos are more do-do-do-dos and not choo-choo-choo-choo. This,
Oh, yeah. They've evolved over time.
well, this week, I was more of a do-do-do more instead of a choo-choo-choo. Just wanted to, show that things are different.
We've
Oh, yeah,
evolved
yeah.
over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe's just not using the same one every single week, or maybe she is.
We gotta let the listeners know this is different. This is real.
Prime content. Organic.
Never the same do-do-dos twice.
Locally farmed.
Organic and grass fed.
Yes.
small batch.
Yes.
Yes.
Small batch do-to-dos.
Yeah. And this week, I'll start us off. This week, I played No Man's Sky, which I have talked about many times on this podcast. It always brings me back. And this week, it brought me back because they released a new update called the Desolation update. And
Brian's
with
out here
that-
trying to make it his sky. He's just,
I am.
He's really trying. He's like, No Man's Sky. We'll see about that.
Yeah. It's been my sky since day one. Been there since day one, baby. And so, yeah, with this, though, they with the Desolation update, they added freighters or giant spaceships that have been abandoned in space. So you can run into them randomly, or you can purchase something from the space stations that let you find them.
That wasn't already there?
Yes, but wait for it.
Oh, okay.
But wait for it. So before, you could run into them in space, and they would just be like broken apart like freighters, and just be like, oh, I wonder what happened here, and you would just still fly away. This, they're still intact. So you can land on them, and then you can go inside, and they're all procedurally generated. There's infinite possibilities of the way the insides could be.
Okay.
And so you go in there, and you find all the crew logs because there's nobody in there. And so you can find the crew logs to find out what actually happened to this ship.
So you have some story.
Yeah, you got a little bit of story that's all procedurally generated as well. Every single story is different.
It's like
And-
Aliens or The Hive in Halo or the other
Yeah.
thing that's like The Hive in Destiny.
Or
The
the other
Flood.
thing that's like Aliens 3.
And so with it, so you go in there and you can either have, so the spaceship could either be desolate, as in it could be nobody's there, but the AI has gone rogue. So like all of the systems have turned on humans. And
This
so
is
they all
2001 Space Odyssey is what it
Yeah,
actually is.
it could
I
be
see, I
that,
see.
or it could be aliens, where a parasite got on board, and then you have to like destroy the parasite and and find out what actually happened.
Wait, I remember there being combat in this game to a certain degree. Are you actually
Yes.
fighting a parasite? Like, is it like a bug running around, or is it like a microbe that you got to like get a laser and a microscope and?
Well, there's
I don't know about parasites. You know about space science?
so what it is they have for lack of a better word, they have sacks that are full of space bugs. So you shoot the sacks, and then a bunch of space bugs like run out, and you have to kill the space bugs.
I love
like
how
the hive.
yeah.
I love how we agreed to that. Like it was the most commonplace thing. He's like, sacks.
Space sacks, yeah.
Space sacks that the parasite fall out of it. It's like
yeah.
you saying like, and then you got to take the laundry and put it in the laundry.
Oh, right, yeah, space sacks. That happens. It happens.
I get it, yeah.
Oh, it is.
You can't drop the laundry, otherwise it gets everywhere.
Because when I first heard about the update, I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be like Aliens, where it's just one giant alien, is taking it over. But it's not that intense. Like No Man's Sky still at its core is all about, you just relaxing, kind of having a good time. So this is just a foray into some sort of combat that you can tackle how you want. It's still, procedurally generated. Everything's still, randomly done. So it is still No Man's Sky.
Question about No Man's
Yes.
Sky. The coolest thing about No Man's Sky when I played it was the fact that I could name my planets, and it was like I discovered this planet and I named them all after Bloody Roar characters.
Yes.
You and me, Joe.
Yes.
So someone out there's a planet Gato just living. I never came across someone else's planet that they had named because it's infinite, right? It's like a whole universe. And
It's basically infinite, yeah.
But have you come across any other players' planet yet?
Okay, so on my normal playthroughs, no. But I have seen them in the distance. Like if I went to the galaxy map and I started kind of roaming throughout, I have seen other players name stuff. And the way the game works is that you try to go to the center of the galaxy.
Right.
Or, that's one of the goals. You can go to the center of the galaxy. So the closer you get to the center of the galaxy, the less stars there are. Or there's more stars, but they're all less compact, or they're all more compact, I should say. So the closer you get to the center of the galaxy, the more there are named things, because there's only so many stars that are right around the galaxy.
So you do run into some planets or stars that people have named.
Yes,
okay.
And absolutely.
That was
and
the
then
most
they
bummer thing for me about it is I spent so much time renaming everything on this planet, just my feet, my butt, my shoulder, that the idea that no one's going to come and know my genius was bumming me out.
Sometimes you do it just for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think back to that little plant thing that you named your butt, and you're like, ha ha ha.
Yeah, but
It looked like a
the
butt.
first couple planets, sure, but the fifth planet, I want people to see my stuff.
I understand. Yeah, I think the way that the amount of star systems that there are in this is 18 quintillion or quadrillion, something like that. It's something where if every single human being on Earth right now discovered one of them every single second, it would still take 1,000 years for you to for us to see all of them.
Cool.
So it's like a secret. It's like your little butt
Yes.
secret.
Well, we can talk about my little butt secret later. I mean, it's a secret. We're not going to talk about it right now.
But yeah, I had a great time. I actually started up a new game on PC because it's included with the Xbox Game Pass or PC Pass, whatever you want to call it. And so I started up a new save. I went through started from scratch, and I got to it, and it's pretty great. It's still pretty awesome starting from nothing.
Sweet.
So yeah, that was my game, No Man's Sky. And what about you, Amanda? What did you play this week?
I've been super busy this week. We've been doing lots of podcast stuff and lots of house stuff. So I only played a little indie game, and I didn't put too much time into it, but enough to give you guys a little foray into how it was. If you've been checking out our streaming on the Twitch, either Monday or Wednesday, you might have seen a little bit of clip of the game. But I played A Mortician's Tale, which is a death positive indie game. In the game, you play as a female mortician, and it's her first few days on the job, and they're kind of walking you through what she does. You deal with each client, you pay your respects to the dead, and then the loop kind of starts all over again. It's not necessarily a puzzle game. I guess it's more like a visual novel, but I guess the point of the game is to walk you through the role of the mortician, what their job is and what it entails, and kind of what the whole death process is like. So in the game, you'll prepare a body for a funeral, or you'll handle an incinerator to cremate people. And it was equal parts disturbing, but also kind of fascinating, because I think it did what it set out to do, which was this is something that you don't normally think about or have to deal with until it happens, and then it can be something that's very overwhelming because you don't know anything about it, and then you have to handle it as it's occurring. If you had recently had a loved one pass away, you would have had to consume all of this information. So the idea of playing a game about it to educate myself on what that could be like before having to be in that situation seems super positive. Being able to process that information while I'm not in mourning seemed cool.
Yeah, it was a fascinating title. I can't think of any game that actually has you prepare a cadaver like that. I mean, like you are sewing the lips, you are putting the embalming fluid in, and it's all in a very kind of drawn style.
It's very blocky.
It's not
and
graphic.
There's no details to it.
Yeah.
It's very like singular colors and
minimalistic.
Intentionally, I believe.
And what was interesting is I think it was really just trying to normalize one of the great facts of this life, and that is the death. And man, when you were playing it, Mandy, it was uncomfortable, just because it's just a place that mentally you don't like to really put a lot of mental energy into.
Yeah.
But it
I
seemed
felt
like
okay,
it seemed like a safe
yeah.
place to do that, for you to kind of exercise those mental faculties on that subject in a relatively safe space. So
I felt okay. I think my mom spent the first 18 years of my life explaining to us that we were gonna die.
Her mom's like,
don't drive to dance class by yourself. You're gonna die. Make sure you look both ways before you cross the street. Oh, because you're gonna die. Don't go there because you might get kidnapped.
Not just die. It's you're gonna get a car crash and then you'll be kidnapped and then you'll be ransomed. And then it was like, she really got super detailed, very creative on her part.
So this game's like, hey, you could die one day, and I was like, yeah, I know. I've known that my whole life. Every day it was like, oh, don't do that, you'll die.
The fascinating thing I liked about it, because I was watching you guys play it while streaming, the fascinating thing about it was, it shows you like actually connecting all the tubes as well in order to draw out the blood, put in the embalming fluid, all that stuff. But then the real fascinating thing to me is that it also brought you to the actual funeral, where you're actually walking amongst everyone. And you can talk to literally every single person in that room if you wanted to, and you can see how they are processing their loved one's death.
Yeah, everyone handles grief differently.
Yeah, and I thought that was super unique in that you didn't actually interact with them; you just heard what they were saying, and then you went okay, and then you could talk to everyone, you could talk to no one, whatever you wanted to do, and then you could just go on to the next body. And I thought that was just very, very interesting the way that they did that.
Yeah, because usually in a video game, if there is someone in the video game who dies, it's directly correlated to the character. It's your mentor or something or your love interest. But like in this, you're a third party. You're kind of in the same seat as the gamer is. You don't know the people, but you still empathize with them, even though they're not. The day you're going to get to the next day, regardless.
It's like when you're playing an investigation game, and then you have to like figure out why someone was murdered, and you look at like different parts of their body and be like, okay, they have a stab wound here and they were clearly dragged over there and there's drag marks on the ground. It's like that, but if they weren't murdered, and it was kind of sad.
Yeah. It is sad.
Yeah, and you could figure out the story if you wanted to, or you could not. You could just treat it like whatever it is.
Do your job. Just do your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't look at anything else. Just fix the eyeballs, glue the eyelids, stitch up the mouth. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Break the muscle joints. Not break. Massage.
Yeah, massage.
Rigor mortis.
Break up the rigor mortis.
Yeah.
That interesting. It's made by Laundry Bear Games, a Mortician's Tale.
Yeah, very good game, it seemed like. So, all right, cool. So that was a Mortician's Tale. And now that brings us to, so Joe and Troy, did you guys play anything this week?
Yes, Brian. Yes. We played a lot of thing this week. So much thing this week. So much thing that I was talking about this game yesterday, and I mentioned that it came out 2 weeks ago. It hasn't even been a week.
Nope. Not even one. Yep.
But I feel like we've put over 2 weeks worth of gaming into this title.
Yes.
Oh, Joe definitely has. Joe's been playing it pretty much. She wakes up and then she starts playing it. And then she stops playing it and she goes to sleep.
That's today I did a couple productive things, but outside of today, I would totally have to agree with that. Yeah.
So we are talking about Ghost of Tsushima, the open world samurai fantasy game made by Sucker Punch Studios, the creators of Sly Cooper and Infamous Acclaim. Joe, this game.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so good.
Can you give us an elevator pitch in case someone hasn't been following the hype, jumping on that train?
So the setup for this game is to bring a very tried and true genre open world, a la Zelda Breath of the Wild or Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, but instead place it in the world of feudal Japan in the late 1200s, and you get to play as a samurai who has broken. Who has been accosted by an enemy who, in his view, does not have honor. And it throws your ideas of what honor is into the mix and says, maybe you have to change the way you think about, honor and fighting and how you treat others in order to save others. So it's an interesting tale of one samurai compromising their way to victory.
That's a good rendition. I agree. Yeah, that's.
Okay, I'm going to talk about my favorite part of this game.
Go for it.
And for me,
Spoilers?
it is
No spoilers?
no, not story related.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, the story's fine. The story's totally great, and I think the character work they do is outshines the story. Good stuff there. But my favorite part of this game is the world itself. The art direction is amazing. The lighting, the particle effects, the use of mountains and landscapes. I have to say this is probably the winner for most pictures taken per minute. And we got some strong contenders up there. Red Dead Redemption, Spider-Man. Like I got God of War, but I think this one, like, half of the game is me playing the game and half of it is me taking pictures. They tried to stylize it to be what that island would have been like back then, but they didn't want to make it like, hand for hand exactly like that. They wanted to still make this a video game. So it is fantasized. It, like, you'll be walking one section where it's just green and lovely, and then right across the river it's just pure golden yellow. No real reason for it, but you don't care. It's just a fun, cool looking video. Stark reds, big greens. And when it comes to open world games, so much of those when you play it is you either getting from point A to point B, and most of your time is just traveling, either next to a character who's leading you somewhere, or you trying to discover little secrets of the world and whatnot. So the world is so important, and I think that they have made it so immersive that doing all of the trappings that are very common for open world games feel fresh and feel beautiful, feel like I'm living a painting and a movie at the same time. Very cinematic.
That's awesome.
That's
What
my
about you,
favorite
Joe?
I would have to agree that the world is kind of amazing. It's one of those, every story is organically placed and everything feels, even though I've done these things 1,000 times in other open world games, they all feel like you are supposed to be doing them, and you kind of just stumbled into it, as opposed to I on purpose ran over this way to go interact with this person to start this next mission. But for me, I think my favorite thing about it is actually how it has. So I really like the story. I like samurai movies a lot. I like Japan a lot. So the feudal-ish era and just the style of how all this is playing out is really cool to me. But I think I really, really like that in the opening of the series, the story, I don't want to play the game the way the main character's mind has to change. I want to be a samurai. So it's really difficult to play some of the game and not do some of the things that you're supposed to do, because you're supposed to be turning more into the ghost. You're supposed to be doing some things that are not honorable, because you have to if you want to save people.
Pretty much. They ask you to be a ninja. Like you're a samurai, but they ask you to do ninja stuff like assassinate people from behind, throw kunai out of nowhere, like kind of trick your enemy, use deception to win. And it's a struggle.
It really is, and I think they did such a good job making me care about how I want Jin, the main character, to feel like he's still honorable and to feel like he's still I want to feel like I'm a warrior and that I'm honorable. So like most of the game is as beautiful as it is, and like everything about the game is gorgeous. I spent more time in picture mode in this. This is probably close to Breath of Wild level of how often I take pictures in it. It's so hard though when you get to a point where you just feel bad for him because you see him like breaking down, and like they did such a great job making me care about how I'm playing the game. And I feel like that is a lot. That is a feat to itself.
I was able to watch a developer interview from last year. When E3 and conventions were a thing.
Oh, right. You mean when people could like be near each other?
Mandy, they were like on a couch, literally 2
they didn't
feet
shake
next
hands,
to each other.
did they?
They did shake
Oh my
hands.
gosh.
And there were like 5 of them. 5 of them. Oh my goodness. And in that developer conversation interview, what you're going through, Joe, is exactly what they wanted you to go through. That's exactly what the character is going through. The idea of, hey, the game is telling me to do all this assassination stuff. I don't want to, but it's there. It's there, and it's tempting. And you know what? The occasion has come, especially for me, where I'm like, if I don't do this, that person is going to die. That innocent is not going to make it. By honor, I will assassinate this person. I will throw that smoke bomb. I will, hit that fire with an explosion sticky bomb. Actually,
I'm right there with you. If it didn't force you to do it, I probably would have tried to avoid doing it more. But it does directly. You are supposed to be doing some of that. So like when it forced me to do it, I was like, oh man, this just feels wrong. But at the same time, it is the only way to win in some sequences.
Yeah.
And they did such a great job. I'm just very impressed with everything.
Yeah, I've
everything
never
about
felt
the game is fun.
Guilty unlocking nodes on my skill tree before.
Yeah.
I thought it was very funny because I'm watching the game. I'm watching Joe play. I've watched you play on stream. I watched our other friend Bobby play on stream, and it's always funny. Like you go into like a camp and like everything's all pretty much monotone, but then you still see red barrels, and it's like, oh, it's a red barrel. I guess everybody just paints their explosives red in all of time.
But once again, it's like they're using just you playing video games as like the temptation to not like have a big old like traditional standoff against your enemy. Because I want to play this game like Assassin's Creed. I want to hit that red barrel. I want to sneak around and do all that stuff. And they know you want to do that, which is why I think it's so interesting that they challenge you not to while giving you the tools to do it.
I have yet to do that. Have you hit one? I keep forgetting. I kill everybody. Like I'll stand off and I'll kill everybody, or I'll assassinate the few that I have to, and then kill the rest of them like in their fight in front of them. And then I see the red barrels, and I'm like, oh man, this would have been so much easier if I just blown that up.
So one quick thing to touch on would be the combat. You mentioned the standoff just now. I think that's another aspect of this game that really nails. They could have very easily have gone with a traditional parry system a la Batman or The Witcher, where you kind of get an indication when you're supposed to do things. With this game, you actually need to look at the enemies that you're fighting in order to parry them, for the most part. Meaning you have to press the button when they're about to hit you. The game's not going to tell you, hey, now's your time. They'll tell you when to dodge, but they won't tell you when to parry.
Yeah, I really like that a lot of the parrying and the dodging also has to do with the type of villain you're against, like the type of if you're using the wrong stance, it will do nothing. You'll actually still get hit because you don't dodge appropriately because you're not standing the right way. And I was like, this is insane, but I love it.
They are somehow, with the combat, they allowed a level of strategy to come in while not taking away from any of the fluidity of the combat. And I think that just makes me feel more like a samurai, because I'm not just mashing buttons. I'm also not just dodging and poking. I'm literally thinking myself through the fight and then executing. And it's a very thoughtful way of doing it. The standoff stuff is great because you hold the button and it's literally like a showdown. Whoever, lets go at the right time first will win that standoff. And that's how I start probably 85% of combat in this game.
Same.
The combat's very pretty too. It has a fluidity to it in like some games when you're fighting and then the last bad guy dies, they'll break into a cinematic of you like chopping their head off or spinning around in circle. And I feel like the fighting in this game all feels like that last minute where it's got that pretty like seamless fluidity. You're not just like chop, chop, chop. Chop, 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 chop.
Right.
Swish. It's like swish the whole time.
There's a drama to it. The way that I play is I tend to kind of back up and wait for the opponent to hit. So there's that moment where you're just waiting. Slice, 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 done. It's a very for me, samurai fantasy fulfilling moment.
For me, it's entirely dependent on the type of bad guy. If it is a shield bad guy or a brute, I'm on the offensive. Actually, I go after them and stagger them because it's the fast way to kill them. And then as soon as they're out of the way, then I can kind of like I can flow like water, as Bruce Lee says, around everything else.
Ooh, that was some good poetry.
Yeah, right. But Bruce Lee, he was amazing. But the spear guys are the ones that I cannot stand.
They're fast.
Those guys, I have to back up so much and I have to be so defensive because even when I'm supposed to be dodging and I'm thinking I'm dodging appropriately or parrying appropriately, I'm not. I never am. They're going to stab me. I need to make sure I've got at least 2 or 3 resolve ready to go because it doesn't. There was one thing I did which was like 5 spear guys and I was like, why? Why are you doing this to me? I don't want to have to like smoke bomb and assassinate these guys. I didn't. I used arrows instead. Yeah. But it still didn't feel like it was the right thing to do.
What's great is that after all of that combat, even though it's such a rush of adrenaline, they add in a lot of serenity into this game, which I think is probably one of the driving signatures of this title. They have places where you can actually compose haikus. You sit down, you reflect on peace, strife, in Mandy's case, fear, when she made her haiku. And when you sit down, a Japanese woman's voice comes on to sing a traditional song, and I actually find myself as a person taking deeper breaths, just looking, enjoying, not rushing. And I think that balance of like super intense combat and very peaceful traversal has made for a really dynamic experience, which in other hands could have been a very generic open world game.
Yeah.
Very much so agreed.
All right, cool. Do you guys have any thoughts from Lewis? Because I know you guys talked with him yesterday.
He is a picture mode monster.
Lewis takes the best pictures out of all of us. I was very excited when we started our picture club. I don't even look at it anymore because he won. He won. I don't know.
He won.
You've got good ones too, Joe. But you know
no,
what?
He won. He won.
He won like, that standoff.
What was great? Instagram? Are we gonna put these on Instagram?
Oh,
yes.
We could.
Yeah, we'll put some of our pictures on Instagram. We'll tag our names in it so you know who did what. I'm gonna take all the credit for Lewis.
It was great, actually. My roommate came downstairs while I was taking a picture. She goes, wow, that's really cool. I'm like, oh, you think this is cool? You got to see what Lewis has done. It's amazing. She goes, hey, don't discredit yourself. I'm like, oh, whoa. I didn't say my picture was bad.
No.
There's nothing wrong with my picture. My picture is freaking gorgeous, but it's nothing compared to Lewis's pictures. You don't understand. There's just such art to what he's doing. And I thought I was like really picky about the angle and the lighting and making the shadows fall right. Nah, bro. Lewis. We bow to you, sir.
I'm afraid to show my pictures because I'm just like, I can't keep up with you two.
There really was so many pictures where it's just like, how did he get that angle?
I know.
What?
And every time he asks me, it's just like, it was just luck. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah, right.
I know you spent 2 hours on this, man.
Yeah.
Don't lie to me.
Yeah.
I'm chasing Lewis. I'm trying to find. I've lost battles now because I've been looking at it versus playing and combat. I've been like, oh, that would make a really great picture if I just let him lean in. Oh, I missed it. Okay, so not a big deal. I'll get another chance. All
right, well, cool. Well, so what was that, Amanda?
I was saying Lewis is just like, oh, I just accidentally hit the share button. I just, my thumb bumped it. And
whatever.
Sorry, I don't know.
It's like those people who accidentally take selfies.
You know it.
All right, well, cool. So that was Ghost of Tsushima. And I imagine you guys will probably be talking. That's right. New release.
I think we should friend zone this when we are done playing it so we can talk about the story because the story is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Friendzone is our new segment on Twitch. Check us out.
That's right.
It's dragons and friends.
That's right. All right, so that'll do it for our games this week. Now it brings us to our news segments.
I said a news. I said a news.
So this week, I'm going to start with a pretty weird one. So Carrion got released. It is a pixel art monster horror game where you play as the monster trying to escape from a lab.
No, Ape Out.
Yeah, kind of like that. But, a grotesque horror monster, if you will. It's very weird. It's from Devolver Digital. So that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. They are the Tarantino of gaming.
Yeah. And it's a pretty great concept, and I do look forward to playing it. But if you have a Switch, look at the icon for it. And it's basically, how do I put it nicely? It's a giant gaping monster vagina is what it is.
You had to say gaping.
Oh, it's gaping. It's gaping. All right. If you are a 80s kid or a 90s kid, think of Goatsy, but don't look it up.
Why did this have to devolve into this?
I don't understand any of your references, but we are going to
Oh, that's a good thing you don't.
You
it's
don't
a good thing
wanna.
you don't. So, but
I'm Googling it now.
Yeah, Google it. And so if you have a Switch, it's pretty interesting. And personally, I'm all for monster vaginas. We have to look at monster penises every single time we look at an alien from the Aliens franchise. But it's probably not the best to have it on the Switch. The family console.
It's interpretive.
Yeah, I can definitely see how you could see that. It also kind of just looks like a monster cave.
Like a weird ear.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I
That's a
definitely see
very
what you're
weird
saying.
ear.
But
But Devolver Digital has already come out and says that a new icon is under review for it.
Okay.
So it might even be changed before this podcast releases.
But never on the internet. Where
Never
it will
on the
live
internet.
Forever.
It's forever. Yeah. But what definitely has changed, though, is that Mixer has finally had its last day this week. The streaming platform shut down for good. I believe it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, and unfortunately went out with a whimper. Not that many people were actually streaming or watching it on its very last day, which I think is just kind of sad.
So strange to me that Mixer came out to kind of challenge Twitch when it comes to streaming, and then got Ninja the highest, grossing streamer ever, and then just died.
That sounds like a business thing. That sounds like, we saw an opportunity and we're like, we can totally do that. And they're like, yeah, we'll just pay for these things. And then they looked at the numbers and went like, oh, wait, there might be more to this than that. How much money have we lost? Oh, yeah, shut that down.
Too late.
Yeah, we didn't roll it out right or, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Phil Spencer actually came out and says he doesn't have any regrets about it. That he was
behind
glad
that?
they did. He's one of the voices behind it. He was one of the one of the people that made a bunch of the decisions. So he was like, we gave it the good old college try.
Yeah,
it just didn't work out. So
learn some lessons, move on, apply to
exactly.
Next
Pour
idea.
one out for Mixer. At least they showed Twitch or Amazon that they're not. they can bleed. They can bleed.
Yeah.
They proved it.
Exactly. So some good news now, though. At least for those of us who like over-the-top cel-shaded graffiti action, which really should be everyone. A spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio has been announced called Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, which is almost as good as the name as Jet Set Radio.
Yeah.
And it will also have the original Jet Set Radio's composer working on the soundtrack.
Well, there you go. If Sega's not going to actually make another Jet Set Radio, let somebody else do it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I love that game. That game was so interesting, innovative. Came out during a time where, like Tony Hawk's were coming out and stuff like that. But it had like
Tony
the
Hawk's-
rollerblade action.
Tony Hawk's coming out again this year. So
Yeah, and it is. Yeah.
the time is right.
Yeah. So, but it looks really good. Definitely look up the trailer if you are interested. It's awesome. Speaking of amazing music, Roki, a new indie game, will be released with an actual real record. Or should we say a record will be released with a game? I don't know. It's a cool concept.
It's beautiful too. It's like clear and it's like this really light
a
blue
clear
color.
record?
Yeah, it's very pretty.
All right.
Yeah.
We just got a record player.
Oh, yeah?
We're ready for this. Let's go.
Continuing with the good news, though, while 2K has come out and said that all next-gen games will be $70 from them, Ubisoft has said that they will keep the current $60 price tag for all next-gen titles. And that could change in the future, of course, but it's nice to know for now, especially in these times, that games will be the current price, You don't have to worry about the extra $10.
I think they should be $70, and they should use that extra $10, and they should work on their HR policies.
Yeah, I feel like Ubisoft
I mean, I agree.
They're definitely trying to make some good face right now in light of all of the sexual allegations that are being lobbied at them right now. I saw a new article come out recently where from someone who actually worked there and is now in esports. And she really was just talking about how it generally, yes, Ubisoft is a problem, but the entire industry is rampant with just the way they treat women. And I think we talked about on this podcast before when it comes to how just you all are treated online as a woman,
right.
And that stuff doesn't just stop on, when we're playing the game. That is the reason why that hasn't been fixed is because a lot of that stuff was happening in the companies.
Right.
It'll
be like, we don't want to make video games with main characters that are women because they don't sell as well. We'll ignore the fact that less women probably play online games because they're constantly bullied, and maybe there would be more women playing games, so it's like a problem that perpetuates itself. I'm sure there's a lot of data behind it.
An article came out recently where they were able to prove that in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Cassandra was supposed to be the only protagonist in that game, but because of
there wasn't another protagonist in that game.
Yeah, I wish. Because of developmental talk, they convinced the team that they needed to have some type of male lead option because a woman wouldn't sell the game at that time, which baffles me. And
I agree.
Look back at the Assassin's Creed franchise, you can see all the different moments where they tried to bring women to the forefront, and then either they just got undercut or they throw in a guy just because you need a guy, whether it's Syndicate or Origins. And the more you see it, the more you're just like, oh, yikes. And even with the new game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it's like, oh, yeah, why can't we just have a female protagonist? Is it that hard?
Yeah, I'm definitely like I don't want to support a company that isn't great with their employees. I'm hoping that they do better. So I'm going to make myself better by buying Assassin's Creed, but only playing as Lady Eivor, because that's a social stance.
I am for improvement.
Yes.
I am for any steps that they can take, and hopefully, and I will definitely hope they do make steps to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last bit of news from me, at least, Square Enix has said that it wants to release Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 as quickly as possible, while also maintaining the quality and even upping it from the first part. And as we discussed here before, they have the systems down. It's just the story and cinematics that really need the work. So hopefully it shouldn't be as long of a wait. I'm hoping personally for our first quarter 2022 release, which is exactly 2 years after the first one. So that's what my plan / hope is for this.
Cool.
Is that it only takes two years to do.
That sounds reasonable. That sounds like that would be fast, but also still good.
I think they can do it, and I want more. I want more of that story.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and then next, Joe has some words of encouragement.
I do. I am very excited this weekend, which I believe by the time you're listening to this you'll be halfway through if you listen to it immediately. Go Fest is this weekend for Pokemon Go, and I'm hoping that all the trainers get out there and battle Team Rocket. They're in their balloons with their Meowth balloons and their regular balloons chasing everybody around. I am very excited about Go Fest because this year it is open. It isn't something you have to travel to Chicago to go do and hopefully get tickets randomly through a lottery. You can just pop on there and pay them $15, and then you have the whole weekend open to you. So everybody out there who's going to be doing Go Fest, I'm with you. I got you. I got your back, trainers.
Catch me a Snorlax.
I got you, fam.
A shiny Snorlax? Is that a thing? I'm not sure.
That's still a thing.
Does Snorlax have a mega evolution?
Yeah, it's Morlax.
I don't know.
No, I think he has one of those giant evolutions that was in the last Pokemon game, though. The Giga Snorlax?
Yeah, Gigamax, whatever it is.
Gigamax Snorlax, something like that, yeah.
Gigamax sounds like a name of a TV
that
I would buy.
This is the Sony Gigamax with
Gigamax.
5K.
I don't know. I went to Saints Row and I'm like, that's a gun in Saints Row.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Gigamax.
Makes you dance. And then Troy, though, has the last but the biggest bit of news for us. So take it, Troy.
I'll keep it brief.
We'll
this
see about
week-
that.
This week, the Xbox Showcase dropped, and what that means is Xbox finally got to show off some gameplay.
They did good.
Some, not all of them, but some.
All right, that's true. That's true. But they got to put their games at the forefront, which was great. So let's take a look at some of the big games that they announced and showed at this event. Right off the bat, Halo Infinite.
Spoiler alert, it's just Halo.
That's Halo. You know what was weird
With
though?
the grappling hook.
There's
The
a
grappling hook.
which reminded me of Doom for some reason, just being able to like rapidly get towards an enemy. What was weird about watching the Halo stuff for me is I forgot that Halo, you didn't really aim down sights to shoot.
No.
Right? And I've gotten so used to like either Call of Duty or Destiny where you have to look down the sights in order to, then shoot. The idea of them just like capping fools from the hip, I was like, what is this strange form of fighting?
I think only the sniper had you zoom.
Yeah, and that's still what it is. And watching the gameplay, it just stood out to me. I didn't realize that, they were there before then. So Rare is coming out with a new game. Rare, they're the makers of Banjo-Kazooie and the early Donkey Kong games. Great music, Viva Pinata. They are coming out with a game called Everwild. And the trailer of this, it's hard to explain. Go watch it if you can. But it doesn't look like there's any combat. It doesn't look like there's any adversaries. It looks like you're just kind of living in this world as a druid, connecting with animals, saving them, helping them if they're sick.
Yeah,
you're
and
like a
it's
vet.
beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
So it does. It looks
yes,
great.
I was looking at it the whole time. I'm like, I would. Can we buy an Xbox for this? I would
Yeah.
buy an Xbox for this.
They've nailed the fur tech in that
Oh,
game.
yeah.
Outer Worlds is getting a new DLC, but for those of us who loved Outer Worlds, Mandy, you're an Outer Worlds person, right?
I did play that game.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Grounded looks like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids multiplayer game, which I am for
Meh.
100%. What? How are you not? You're not going to be tiny and roll with me?
Meh.
Well, first we have to get an Xbox, which we probably won't do.
No, you can play most of these games on the Windows 10.
Oh, okay
It's a
then.
PC.
Yeah,
So
you can
maybe
play. I
we're
think
in.
almost every single game, if not every single game they announced, you can play on Windows 10 as well. It's just I think like half of them are going to be console exclusive first, which means they're going to release, for exclusively maybe for like a week or a month, however long, and then it'll be on Windows.
Yeah.
Funny thing about that Grounded game, it popped up. And I was like, this is adorable.
Yeah.
I really like this. It's spiders. Oh, you can find Ladybug. That's great. I'm like, maybe this will be another game I go buy an Xbox for. This would be great. And then there was ants, and I was like, oh, I'm out.
Oh, man. All types of ants.
I'm
and little
out. I'm so
spiders.
out. Brian's like, why would you have thought there wouldn't be ants?
This-
You're like in a backyard. They're probably like the one of the main thing. I'm like, nope, I'm out. I can't
This
even watch
game-
this anymore. I'm getting itchy.
This game hit home for me because I really liked those movies growing up, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and also I remember going to Universal Studios where they created
Yeah,
a
the
place
playground.
that made you feel like you were in the movie, and I've been chasing that dream ever since.
Yeah.
I want that Oreo. I want that big Oreo. And there's other games to look up. Go find them out. The Gunk looks cool. Psychonauts 2 had a nice song by Jack Black.
The
but
Medium
most-
looks really interesting and really creepy.
the Medium, where you're kind of playing a game in both realities that you can switch back and forth. One is scary, the other one is depressing. And you know what? I'll take depressing over whatever was going on in that frightening world.
I feel like you have to switch back and forth between the two in order to get through certain areas.
Do I have to, though? I feel like I just want to stay in one and just be like, you can't make me.
It'd be a very short game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but most importantly, they dropped a announced trailer for a game that Mandy has not been looking forward to at all for the past 7 years.
Is this Fable's Inquisition?
Fable is real.
Fable 4.
And the trailer is really cute. It's a fairy flying around, and you're like, well, this could be anything. Maybe it's Fable. But as soon as that fairy gets eaten by the frog, you're like, this is Fable. Either the fairy was going to fart or get eaten. I knew that's how it was going to be Fable or not. So how do you feel, Mandy? It's a game you wanted.
I did a little bit of research into this because there were a few things that were very important. One, that they were working on it, and that makes me very happy. And two, that a UK team was working on it. Because if Fable is anything, it is like very, very British. And I didn't want to lose that and Microsoft isn't UK
So
owned.
it
So I
is.
did. Yes, it is. It is. It's being made by Playground, the same people who made Forza, which makes me a little nervous because Forza is very different from Fable. But it is being, and I'm hoping. I'm looking forward to the humor and the chickens.
Maybe they'll add cars to this medieval fantasy
Don't
adventure.
don't put that in the ether.
It's going to be Fable's Motorsports.
Yeah.
But one thing we're actually hoping for, and maybe just the internet can help us out with this. Everyone message Xbox and tell them to release Fable 2 and 3 because it's never been released for the PC. So you cannot, if you don't already own it, you can't play it. And in some cases, if you do own it, you still can't play it. So there's no way to play the 3 games in anticipation for the 4th. So hashtag listen to us. Hashtag Fable. Hashtag.
Well, hashtag listen to us anyways.
Yes.
But listen to us. All right. Well, cool. Yeah, it was actually a really good event. It was actually a really good event. That I wish they showed just a little bit more gameplay because a lot of it really was like trailer gameplay versus gameplay that I saw.
Sure.
But from what I did see, I liked it. I liked it a lot more than the last major event that they did.
It's worth noting that every game that they showed on that list will be available on Game Pass.
Yes.
And that was one thing they're
Exactly.
trying to show you, like, hey, we have a really cool Game Pass is cool. Like I can't I'm a
it's a
Sony
great
person,
deal.
but I can't crap on Game Pass. It seems phenomenal.
It's
So
a
that's
great-
a remarkable feature that they're bringing out.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, and then now it brings us to my favorite segment, which is Turn Up for What?
Turnip for what?
And this week, it's from Joe from Katsusando.
Welcome to another sun-filled week in Animal Crossing. This week brought us lots of visitors, some fun theatrics, and some not-so-friendly ghosts. Flex stopped by for the July Bug-Off tournament, and many Islanders have been joining forces to catch as many bugs as possible to score the maximum number of points. Villagers were excited to score tickets to the highly anticipated Hamilton, an Animal Crossing musical. YouTuber Guitar Knight 14 has cast Raymond as the leading man, Alexander Hamilton himself, and is recreating the show's most popular anthems with many of the villagers we all know and love. In the neighboring island of Seshuma, reports of a ghost causing catastrophe is on the rise. Hopefully the villagers there will be able to find all the spirit pieces of Wisp that scattered and score some neato armor. And now, on to the turnips. This week, as reported by the South Jones, while rising prices continue to grow, opening this week with an average of 102 bells, the market exploded midweek with one of the highest selling prices capping out at 631. And that's it for now. This is Joe from Katsusando reminding you to look up for the shooting stars, watch your feet to avoid pitfalls, and always, always save your rusted parts. Back to you, Dragons.
Turnip for what? Oh man, I wish Wisp in Animal Crossing had a samurai sword.
Right?
Be way more interesting.
I wish they had Ghost of Tsushima's armor inside of Animal Crossing.
Well, they
You
do
wear a
kind
little
of,
hat
right?
and a little samurai
They
armor.
got some samurai armor in there.
I've been
with,
wearing
like, the big
samurai
shoulder
greaves all
pads.
week.
Oh, you want some shoulder pads?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll work
No,
on
I
that.
want the
don't
cape.
want
I want
them.
that flowing cape.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Traveler's attire.
cape. Oh my gosh. We can't talk about Ghost again. I can
No,
talk
no.
forever just on
Another
that.
day. Another day.
All right. So, yeah, that'll do it for our news segment, which brings us now to Gamers Digest.
Yum. See, I did a deep voice.
And-
That was a good
It was
deep
good.
voice,
It was
baby.
nice. It was nice.
You can't tell which one was Troy and which one was me. I dare you. I dare you.
Absolutely
Figure
not.
it out.
Double dog dare you. We are going to be doing Gamers Digest. This is the feature where we ask the question, what if this game was a sandwich?
Yeah.
And sometimes you look at franchises. So this week, in lieu of Ghost of Tsushima coming out, we wanted to look at one of Sucker Punch's biggest franchises, and that is the Infamous series. The series that is based around an action-packed open-world superhero game where you get to fight as using good, benevolent moves or very evil, dark, not so benevolent moves.
So, what's this Infamous series called?
Infamous?
I get it.
Oh,
I get
Infamous.
it.
I get it now. Okay.
I truly think, actually, to yes and
Yeah.
for Brian,
Yes.
is I think that if Infamous is also going to be a sandwich, the sandwich has to be Infamous. And I
Okay.
think
That's
because
right.
the game is good, then
Yes.
it needs to be Infamous because, like, maybe it tastes really good, but it's really bad for you. So I'm going to say that the sandwich, maybe it has a lot of calories.
Okay. But you don't realize it. Like, you think it may be
Yeah,
healthy
that's
for
why
you.
it's infamous. No, you don't have to know. You have to know that it's bad for you because it's famous for being
bad.
For being bad, which is what infamous
Okay.
means. Yeah.
I think it needs to be a very hot sandwich. Like, this is a sandwich either
Ooh,
like they either blowtorch the top of it, or it goes through one of those things where it nukes the sandwich, where it's like so hot, like it's like, and it's got to be like one of those, like when you burn pastrami a little bit on the edges.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like charred hot, not like spicy hot.
Oh, what if
No,
it's like
charred and warm. Yeah.
What if it's like a brisket? What if it's like a slow cooked, like
A brisket
meaty-
sandwich.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would say
I like
those
that.
games are very meaty. You know what? The
Yeah.
first one is like fluff. The first one would be like maybe like the gravy that would be on a brisket, where it's just kind of light. You get what's going on, and you just
Like
enjoy it.
It was technically barbecue, but they only cooked it for an hour or so. So I mean, it tasted good, but it was mostly the sauce.
But that second game, you got some meat. Like, you really started digging into what the repercussions of these powers were. In the second game, I think because of you, like, an entire area floods, and you're dealing with the aftermath of
Yeah.
I think it was Louisiana, actually. This was before Katrina hit. So it was like actually like really it was a hard game to play, which is that meat that kind of
They do have an entire superhero whose powers revolve around paper. So I do think this sandwich is going to be like wrapped in like a newspaper.
Oh, okay, because you
Okay,
can't get it
I
on
see
your
what you mean.
hands.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
are pretty
absolutely.
well made games,
Yeah.
I'd say.
And I would say the first game is more like a nice airy bread. It's a good platform. It's got a nice. It's a good base that you can base everything else on
yeah.
top of.
What's like a very airy bread? A Cuban bread is that very airy?
No, Cuban
No?
bread.
No,
Cuban bread's
it's a little-
delicious.
It's thick. Yeah.
Something
I
soft.
think I could go with like a French roll.
A French
like
roll.
a nice
Sure, yeah.
French roll. That's what I would say the first game is. But then that second game, I agree, is like a brisket.
I was you know how sometimes you get the barbecue and then they put that piece of bread under the barbecue so it just soaks up all of
You go.
all of the juices and the goodness, so you just have that like soggy piece of
Nice.
yeah.
See, now that's infamous too.
Yeah. Well, no. Ryan say Infamous 1 is just
Yeah.
that piece of bread, which by itself, I mean, is a delicious piece of bread, but you add the brisket on top of it, and it's just like, it's a good
It
foundation.
percolates.
I see.
Yeah.
You see, I think then I would say then the presentation. Okay, it's like you get like this nice brisket sandwich. It's juicy, it's fluffy, but it's well put together. I think it's got to come on a plate with like, it's got to be dressed nice. Joe, how do you dress up a plate? Like, how do you plate something like a sandwich to make it seem extra?
Okay, so you would normally add like a little flag of some sort. You would always make sure the
Okay.
lettuce is sticking out slightly, and you would actually drizzle a mustard or drizzle something onto the sandwich, and it would fall on the sandwich in a nice swiggly line. Since this
See,
is infamous,
and- yeah.
I don't think it should be drizzled. I think it should be like half of the sandwich is dark, half of the sandwich is light.
You know what? I think it should be drizzled. It should still be dark and light and use different sauces, but the drizzle should be in the
like
form of like lightning bolts, because that's what you
Yes.
have in the game. You have electricity powers.
sandwich is
so it'd be
very
drizzled
extra.
with like little zigzags. Yeah.
This game also came out in the era of DLC. Not that DLC doesn't exist now, but I feel like that DLC is like side dishes. Like this comes with corn,
Yeah.
and it comes with
No,
coleslaw,
no, no, no. The
and
side-
Pickle.
The side dish for Infamous, the original Infamous games, would be like blood pudding.
oh, that sounds
Because
delicious.
their DLC was Festival of Blood. It was
Ooh.
a vampire-based
That's right.
DLC. So enjoy that brisket sandwich drizzled with light and dark dressing, dipped in blood pudding. That's pretty British.
And all those are choices too. You can choose to dip it in if you want. You don't, but it's a good sandwich even if you don't dip it into the DLC. You know.
Right.
Like-
It's standalone by
Look,
itself.
Just to
Standalone.
clarify, to make sure I remember, blood pudding's just mashed potatoes with a little bit of zhuzh in it, right?
I have no idea, actually. I think there actually is like
I think there-
coagulated blood in it.
Yes, but they are mashed
Yes.
potatoes. They are fundamentally just like
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. So if anyone didn't know what that was, it's not like
I-
pudding made from blood. It's just mashed potatoes with a little bit of
I, to be
blood
honest,
in
don't
it.
really
It's like
know.
an au jus. Since au jus is made with the blood seepage and whatnot, I think it's an au jus. So
Huh.
technically, it's still blood. I
Oh,
think.
it's definitely in there. But if you were imagining like someone took a cup of pig blood and then like put Jello pudding
God,
in
no.
it and like put it in the fridge. It's not that. Don't worry.
She is correct. It is not that.
That is correct.
It is not blood push pudding.
And then Infamous Second Son is the same sandwich, but it's like Kobe beef.
Oh.
It's like, hey, same
And
stuff, but ooh.
I feel like if you make Kobe beef into barbecue, that people get angry.
I don't know about it. Wagyu beef? I don't know. What's like a nice cut of beef? I'm not sure.
Maisawa A5 Wagyu.
There it is.
There you go.
That's what
And then
Second Son
they
is.
run a promotion, so that way they give it to you for free. That way you buy the rest of the sandwiches. You know? That way you buy the other sandwich. Because, the Second Son they did give away for free for the PS Plus for one of the months.
Yeah,
So-
They did.
So, yeah, that's how I played it. And, and it really got me into the Infamous franchise.
And it'd be
I think that's what it is.
And it would work the same if I went to this restaurant, right? And they were known for this brisket sandwich, and then you upgrade it to get better. And then like you go away, you travel, and then you come back to this restaurant, and they're like, "Oh no, we're serving sushi now." You'd be like, "Wait, what? What happened to the brisket?" And they're like, "Oh, it's still there, but try our Japanese fusion." I'm like, "Oh, sucker punch! You all are great."
And the sushi was also really
It
good.
was really good. They put brisket in it.
Oh, I would totally eat a brisket sushi. Is that what Ghost of Tsushima is?
I don't know. What do you call
Brisket
it?
sushi?
What do you call uncooked beef?
It's
Prepared?
I used to order it all the time, and it's tataki.
Tataki? Yeah.
Miku tataki. Yeah.
Some tataki.
all right. So yeah. That's a good sounding sandwich.
Open face
Brisket?
beef brisket sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wrapped in a piece of paper.
With a side of blood pudding.
You really wanted that in there. You've been thinking about that.
Don't forget the drizzle.
Don't
The
forget
light
the
and
drizzle.
dark drizzle.
Yeah. Got some ranch drizzle on one side. That's very nice. And then like some super spicy drizzle on the other side for the evil stuff. Yeah.
I like it.
Some like
Nice.
ghost pepper stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Everything just keeps coming back to Ghost today.
All right, well, cool. So that'll do it for our Gamers Digest. And
Yum.
now that brings us, yeah.
You said it. I'm going to say it, man.
Sure, you're right. I should have paused. It was my fault. But that does bring us to our Dragon of the Week.
Do. It's the dragon of the week. Oh, it's so sweet. It's the dragon of the week. It'll wake you meet. Dragon of the week.
Did you say meat? Brisket.
But Dragon of the Week is our chance to show a little love to the industry people and the industry groups, or anything that has to do with games.
Learn a bit of something.
Yeah, learn a little bit of something. And this week we have Troy bringing it to us.
That's me. My dragon of the week is Chris Zimmerman, developer and co-founder of Sucker Punch Productions. Yes, Sucker Punch, of course, is who we've been talking about all podcasts long. So why stop now?
We have a
That's right.
theme. We thought about it.
I'm going to take the story of Chris Zimmerman back to the 1980s. Get the hairspray ready, get the neon
That's
stockings going. So Chris Zimmerman was actually pretty deeply entrenched in Microsoft at that time in the late 80s. I think it was probably in his, mid-20s or so. And he was working with his friend Brian Fleming. They worked at Microsoft. They did their dues. They helped launch Microsoft in the 90s, which is like when Microsoft became Microsoft.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
So around 1994, they kind of looked at themselves and were like, this is great. We've been having a good time, but I think I'm good. Like I feel like we've done what we needed to do here, and it's time to kind of move on. Now, granted, this is 1994, right before 1995, which is Windows 95, which is like the one, like Windows 95.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. And they looked at that. It was in development. They were like, yeah, they got this. They decided to leave the company because they wanted to take the risk, and they were kind of bored. And they couldn't think of anything more riskier to do.
They didn't want to make a word processor. They were like,
Literally another one. The person who was actually involved in making Word joined their company like many years later.
Did he see? He took one look at Clippy and he was like, "I'm out. I'm out."
Yeah.
What is this Clippy nonsense? Where's those raccoon people? So they broke out on their own to start their own game company. And at the time, they were looking around at like, this is 95, so it was getting into the late 90s when they got enough equipment to take it a little more seriously. And they didn't have any money, so they actually gambled. They gambled on March Madness, the basketball.
What?
Basketball used to be a thing. And
Yeah.
they won a bunch of money. They made enough money to buy enough equipment. They already had the know-how, more or less, and they had friends. But they just needed to get that nice little bump, and they got it through gambling.
Oh, you're saying the video game gods wanted them to open a company, is what you're saying.
It's actually, I think there must be some video game gods when it comes to that. I'll get back to video games gods in a second. They looked around at current games that were being made, Ocarina of Time, Mario Galaxy, and they realized that all of these developers who were doing things much longer than they have in the games industry were really good at what they're doing. And most importantly, they were like, they have such lush like backgrounds, environments. And they didn't see that as their forte. So Chris Zimmerman was like, well, I'm not good at making lush environments, but I'm really good at physics. So they decided to work on their first game, which was Rocket Robot on Wheels, which was a character-based robot game that was very based on like picking things up with physics and putting them in different places, and it having a lot of dynamic physicality to it, all entrapped around a robot trying to save a carnival from a criminal mastermind raccoon.
Oh, I see a theme.
They got one good takeaway from that. So now that they're developing a game, they realized they needed a name for their company, and they made a huge list of names, right? And they couldn't decide on what it should be. So Zimmerman decided to take it to his wife and literally gave the list to his wife of over like 20 different names. And she looked through and she was like, this is good, this is good, this is good. She's like, actually, these are all good except this one, and crossed it out and was like, I think the rest are fine. And they took the list, and the only one crossed out was Sucker Punch. And they thought, and I guess he made a thought to himself. I'm sure his marriage is fine now, but back then he was like, well, if this is the only one my wife doesn't like, it's probably the right one.
He wasn't wrong.
So
He wanted something edgy.
they went with it. If my 35-year-old wife thinks this is a bad name, it'll probably work for the 18-year-olds that we're trying to sell this game to.
I mean, she's wrong in every argument we have anyway. So, I mean, obviously she's wrong in this one.
Their words, not mine. This is, I am not
Does
just
anyone
saying
ever
this.
wonder
This
what a
is an
sucker
interview.
punch actually sounds like?
What?
Does
Oh,
anyone
like
want to know
actually-
what a sucker punch sounds like? Brian, stand there for a second.
Dang.
What?
Somewhere, Chris Zimmerman's wife is high-fiving you right now, Joe.
This was for her.
Yeah. She's like, oh, my husband. Right. Why'd he tell that story?
Guess that'd be right again, I guess.
I like the idea that he took it back. Like, it would be funny if we picked that one. And then it seems like, yeah, it would be really funny. And then he goes back to his wife. He's like, would you be upset if I picked this one? And she's like, no, it'd be really
She's
funny.
like,
And
you're going to sucker punch me with the name Sucker Punch? So here's where the video game gods come in. They have this new company. They don't have a lot of money. They have such fun goals. They wanted to, now that they have this company, they down to the details that they want their phone number to have the name Punch in it. Okay, so they decide to contact, the phone people to be like, here are the combinations. We can buy this number so that it's 86 punch or whatever.
Yeah.
It would cost $500 though in order to do that. So they were like, no, don't do that. We'll just get the random one because we can't afford to. They randomly got a number 86 punch.
what?
Randomly. So if there are some video game gods, Chris Zimmerman and Brian Fleming are them. So they saved money once again in doing that. They took their game to Nintendo first. Nintendo was like, nah, dog, we're good. Take that robot game someplace else. And then decided, hey, we're going to try to do this on our own. They got a lot of, they decided to take their game to E3. They got into a hotel room and just started reaching out to publications to be like, hey, could you come in and just come to our hotel room, please? We're cool. We're cool. We'll go to you, whatever it takes. We're new at this. And they got enough cred from video game magazines that Ubisoft read one of the articles and was like, "Hey, we'll make your game." And Ubisoft in the late 90s were not Ubisoft of now. They were a smaller company. So they made their game, the robot game, and as they were making it, they did not skip a beat. They went to Sony and were like, "Hey, do you want this on your platform?" And back then, Sony's like, "No, we don't cross-platform around here. What are you trying to do?" And Sucker Punch was like, "You'll see." And he's like, "No, you'll see." Eventually, they came back to them and worked out a deal to make Sly Cooper, which was one of my favorite franchises in video game history. They decided to run with the idea of a criminal-themed raccoon, and they scored with it. Sony gave him a lot of leeway. I talked about earlier on our podcast, previous episode with Mark Cerny, where he had a nice hand in helping them develop it. Mark Cerny was helping develop games like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, and Sly Cooper felt a lot like that as well, a animal-based, character-driven third, platformer. But Sly Cooper had a lot of personality to it.
Yeah, they were definitely very popular at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the story kind of goes as it is. Sly Cooper was great, but it was when they got to the Infamous realm, 3 games later, that Sony kind of looked at them and was like, "Hey, so look, I know we've been dating for a while, and I know it's been kind of, you're doing your own thing, we're doing our thing, but like, you want to make this official?" And
I can put it on Facebook and we can both hit yes.
I'm gonna need you to delete Tinder after this is what I'm trying to say, Sucker Punch. And this was actually in an interview. Sucker Punch did see it as a girlfriend, and then getting married to that girl if they were dating girls. And so they did. Sony bought their company, and they've worked exclusively with Sony since, bringing out the franchises. So much so that they were able to get hands-on equipment with the PS4, and were able to be one of the debut titles for the PS4. Infamous Second Son launched the PlayStation 4. That's how much faith Sony has in these people. And what's great about them is that was only their 4th or 5th game.
Yeah.
They have a philosophy that Chris Zimmerman and Brian Fleming believe, which is work on one game at a time. When Sony bought them out, they were like, "Hey, great, we own you now. Can you make this Vita game for us because it's not doing too well? Could you make this? Can you make that?" And they were like, "Nope." When we signed with you, we said, "This is how we're going to run it. This is how we're going to run things." And Sony's like, "You right, do your thing." And I think that philosophy has really shown through. Chris Zimmerman has continued to work on all the games since, even right up into now doing Ghost of Tsushima. Not only is he the co-founder of Sucker Punch, but he's also in charge of the combat. So he's the guy who went and reached out to real, swordsmen, swordswomen, swordsmiths, I don't know, anyone involved with swords, to really find a way to get an accurate portrayal of fighting as a samurai in feudal Japan, while also making it fun to play as a game. And I got to say that is hand in hand my 2 favorite things about that game, the open world and the combat. So still working, still doing interviews from 1980 when he was, think about this, signed and working for Microsoft, and now is solely signed and working with Sony. A beautiful story.
Hey.
Yeah.
That is Chris Zimmerman.
That's awesome. I think it's very funny that they went and they gambled for their
Insane. Insane.
Yeah, right.
For everything, because like you said, sometimes it's just kismet, something just works out. So it reminds me of FedEx. The guy took their last $5,000, flew to Vegas and won $27,000 in Vegas, and was able to continue FedEx. If he had lost in Vegas, there'd be no FedEx.
There are many non-FedExes that did the same thing and did not make that money.
Exactly.
That never got anywhere, but that one did.
I love now that we've seen more and more of these dragons, is that some people, they begin their company and it is nothing but bad luck. They dredge through swamps and fight through rain to make their first few titles, which are brilliant and unappreciated. And it's fun to see a company that's just like, I don't know what everyone's complaining about. La, 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 la,
you want that number? Just
sunshine.
get the number. I don't know. They did work pretty hard. The first game that came out did not do very well. It was very lukewarm. So it had good tech, but just nobody was interested. So they really had to sell themselves And I think it just came down to their skill. They stole, I mean, got friends over from Microsoft like periodically throughout that, recruited them to kind of leave Microsoft and work with them in their company. So they have a good pedigree, and I think the work shines through.
That's awesome. All right, well, cool. So that was Chris Zimmerman, co-founder of Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch.
All right. Sucker Punch.
Thank you, Miss Zimmerman. Mrs. Zimmerman.
Absolutely. Well, unfortunately, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. However, you can always find us online.
Check us out on Twitter and Instagram for social media, for day-to-day, week-to-week, just fun content and coverage of industry-related news. Make sure also to check us out. We are now streaming on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8:30. I'll go ahead and say that.
Ish.
Saturdays, whenever.
Listen, it's streaming, so it's always an ish. Nothing starts exactly.
Just follow
then.
us. Yeah, follow us. You'll know when we're on.
But check us out on those days. That's something new we're trying. We're going to try to have more of a Twitch presence. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also on YouTube.
Yes,
That'll just be a collection of various things we do from all different sides of the internet.
That's right. And but yeah, so find us there. But until then, you can always find us here.
That's right. Every Sunday.
'Cause we're here for you.
And
That's
I'm
right.
here for you. Wait, you just said that.
I did.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, I'm reiterating it.
I'll be here for you till the rain starts
That's
to
a
fall.
friend song.
Because we're friends.
We are friends.
That's right. And but as always, though, my name is Brian.
My name is Troy.
Amanda.
And I'm Joe.
And we are
The
Taste of
Dragons. That's going to be fun to do for the next several weeks, Joe.
We nailed it. You'll see in post.
Nailed it.
100%.
Have a great week, everyone.
Later. Look at my cape. It's so flowy.
Taste of Dragons Gaming Podcast, a podcast for everyone's taste.